Okay, this is the detox pathway that has the most influence on hormone balance and mold toxicity. This is the glucuronidation pathway. So this is part 3 of my detoxification series, and we're now going into detail on phase 2 detoxification pathways, the first of which is glucuronidation. If you'd like a little bit more of an overview of the previous parts to get a sense of like what other parts are included in detox and why they matter, you can go ahead and look at the previous videos too before getting to this one. So glucuronidation is majorly responsible for being able to detox hormones like estrogen or toxins like mold or other carcinogens. So the glucuronidation pathway is a big reason why if the glucuronidation pathway gets gunked up, then you will display a lot of estrogen excess symptoms or estrogen dominant symptoms. And this is also the reason why if you have mold exposure and a lot of this pathway is being preoccupied by mold detoxification, you can have a slower hormone detoxification and therefore get a lot of hormonal imbalance symptoms. So this all has to do with this pathway. The glucuronidation pathway is when the liver takes a lot of those phase 1 intermediates, those toxic stuff, the toxic stuff that your liver has passed through one enzyme process already and needs to process through phase 2 to put into your gut to get rid of. This is when you attach a glucuronic acid to the thing that you want to get rid of so that it's kind of tagged for your liver to put into the bile and then through the bile into your intestines, and then you kind of poop it out. So this tag is what is important about this process. Glucuronidation is conducted through the UGT enzymes. That's the enzyme that helps this tagging process. And so genetic variations in the UGT enzyme can affect this process. So you could have like UGT1A1 polymorphisms, which is more of a Gilbert syndrome. This is a syndrome where there's like always mild jaundice and higher bilirubin because you aren't able to solubilize the stuff that you're trying to get rid of into your bile, and so you get a little bit more bilirubin in your blood and you can't clear it quite as fast. You might also have polymorphisms in UGT2B7 or UGT2B15, and those are really important for like different types of drug metabolism and estrogen clearance. The major cofactors that are used in glucuronidation are magnesium, and we need glucuronic acid. And glucuronic acid has like in order to make glucuronic acid, first of all, you do need to have enough glycogen or glucose in your system. Most people don't have a problem with this, but if you have like a very long-term either like starvation or like nutrient deficiencies, or if you're having issues with like a process called gluconeogenesis, if you're a carnivore, on the carnivore diet, you might have a little bit of issue with this. But yeah, in general, you do need glucose to be able to create glucuronic acid, and most people don't have an issue either making glucose from proteins or other things, or being able to eat things to access glucose. And in order to turn that glucose into glucuronic acid, the cofactors that are needed are vitamin B1, vitamin B3, that niacin, vitamin B5, and vitamin B6. And with glucuronidation, most people don't have an issue pushing glucuronidation unless there are like some of those rare genetic polymorphisms that are happening where the enzyme is a little bit slower. Most of the issue happens where after you get this toxic thing out of your bile, out of your liver, out of your gallbladder, into your intestines, and you have this glucuronic acid attached to the toxic waste that you're getting rid of. What it can get exposed to is sometimes you will have microbiome, like little microbes in your intestines that have an enzyme called glucuronidase, and that glucuronidase will actually break off this glucuronic acid, and then now this thing can get reabsorbed by your intestines, and that compromises your detoxification. So this is the major piece that can influence glucuronidation in most people, is having a very high beta glucuronidase activity in their intestines from microbes that aren't very great for your health. So this is dysbiosis. If you have intestinal dysbiosis and a high level of beta glucuronidase activity in your intestines, then your glucuronidation pathway can be very, very undone. It can be very influenced, and this again will increase your sensitivity to things that get processed through the glucuronidation pathway. And so this can cause a lot of those hormonal symptoms like estrogen dominance with like really bad PMS, acne, bad periods, weight gain, a lot of that stuff. And it can make a lot of other things like your immune system dysregulation from mold exposure a lot worse as well. Yeah, so that's glucuronidation in a nutshell. I know this is a little long. In the next video, I'm going to talk about sulfation, which can have a lot to do with salicylate sensitivity. So follow along if you want to know more. Thanks.